Hello, and welcome to the Vendetta version of Immortal Phoenix Rek'sai. It's been interesting to go through all the spoilers, the pre-riffs, and, finally upgrade the deck. Now, I initially recorded this before everything got spoiled, and like way before all the pre-riffs I'd played. So I'm actually recording this after another video that I wanted to put out for my own learning. But I ended up like changing a little bit after I recorded this initially, so bear with me. Um, so we're just gonna go through all the cards that I thought were interesting, and I'll explain why I might want to play each one. Starting with the 2 drops, the turn 1 plays. Noxian Emissary, I think this is one of the best cards that you could add to Rek'Sai. It's a 2 for 2, which is pretty fine on its own, but it also gives you that Empower ability for 1 and a yellow power to give it Death Knell, play 2 recruits to your base. This is really good if you're playing a Yellow Swarm deck, because you'll have Yellow Seals to help reduce the cost, but I think it's still very good on its own. You don't have to empower it right away, right? Because like turn 1 you can play this, and turn 2, if they somehow kill it, sure, like they've probably spent power doing that, because like what burn spell exists that can kill this on turn 2 or turn 1 even. I guess maybe Kaisa, but like even at the start of your turn 2 you can just empower it before you swing in, and then it'll be fine. Punching Poro was interesting because the discard 1 kind of synergizes with Phoenix a little bit, but it kind of loses value over time because you're just discarding cards to get a 3-might unit. And later in the game, you don't really want to discard cards, especially if you found 2 Phoenixes. So that effect feels a little underwhelming. Fallen Feline is definitely interesting. Like, I think it would be good if we were a different deck. So in other words, it's not good. It's technically playable turn 1. 2 energy and a power for a 3-might is good, but turn 1 spending that power is not great. Arguably, it's pretty bad. The effect when you play me, name a spell while I'm at a battlefield, opponents can't play spells with that name. That sounds really good because you can play stuff like, or sorry, you can name stuff like Falling Star, uh, what else? Imperial Decree, Bellows Breath, even something crazy like Sprite Burst. So they, like, if you're playing against a Lilia deck, right? Or Defy, obviously, right? That's probably the most obvious card. But I mean, this deck really sucks at holding. It doesn't have anything like shield or like action speed, defensive spells. I guess you have like some burn, but not a lot of stuff you can do on your opponent's turn, so it's not really gonna stick. It's gonna die pretty quickly. Finally, we have Forsaken Bakai. I don't know if it's Bakai or Bachai, like a, I don't know what's the word with 2 C's. That sounds like a CH, some Italian word or something. I don't know. It's possible you'll be on fewer runes than your opponent, right? If you're going first, this will trigger. Notably, it triggers before your channel phase. So whatever you start the turn with before you channel, um, you could technically recycle your runes on your opponent's turn if you see that they have more runes, or if they have less runes than you, but I don't think you're really gonna do that. There's no point in doing that, especially for a 2-drop. Uh, Now we'll talk about the 3 energy plays. So mainly going turn 1 going second, but could be turn 2 if you went first. Akali Deadly Weapon is interesting. It's a 3 for 3, 3 energy for 3 might. Empower for 2 and a red. When I move, you can deal 1 to a unit I move to or from. And if I'm empowered, you can deal 2 instead. And you also have +1 might. I think it's good, but not being able to retreat it kind of sucks. It feels pretty bad. Unless you play Perfect Execution, but I don't know if you want to run that in here. It's not bad, but I don't think it's better than anything else that exists in the deck. Also, it's just a pretty heavy cost. By the time you activate the Empowered Akali, a lot of the 2 energy, or a lot of the 2 might units are probably not really there anymore, unless you're playing something aggressive like another Rek'Sai, or maybe like a Victor, like a Victor recruit spam build or whatever. So I'm not terribly convinced. Escaped Greyback, 3 for 3, which is also a good rate. These are all almost all 3 for 3, so they must be decent. Um, but it just has empowered killer friendly unit, and while empowered, have +2 might. Not bad, especially if you can use it to kill off a recruit that died, like from the Noxian Emissary. But I don't know if that's really worth it. I feel like you would rather go wide than go a little taller if you're gonna have a deck that builds where you can have good sacrifice fodder. So I'm not really sure if it's that great. This does not let you play Phoenix from trash because Phoenix requires you to kill a unit with a spell. So don't think you can do that. We got Twilight. We got Twilight Reveler. Um, it readies a unit when it attacks, which can be really good. There is an infinite, a 4-card infinite, where you need 2 Twilight Revelers, 1 Eye of the Herald, and Facebreaker. It seems really gimmicky if you want to run that combo in here, but I think this card alone is pretty decent. But I couldn't really find a card that I really wanted to get rid of to play it. Uh, Kennen is another card. Kennen, Keeper of Balance. I'll say Yellow Kennen because I can't remember names. It's an extra hidden card, which is really nice. Right now with Rek'sai, your only hidden card in the deck is Hidden Blade, unless you're playing some weird stuff like Lotus Trap or that 2 energy 2 might unit Mischievous Mirai. It adds this card adds an extra layer of hidden, which is really nice. It can stun a unit as long as you leave 2 energy open when you hide it, and it'll turn into 4 might when you stun something or when there's a stunned unit there. So I guess this does synergize with Facebreaker a little bit, but also you can attack. Um, if you're attacking with Kennen, you don't even have to pay to 2. You can try to ambush a Vi, and that stun will count for Kennen's +2 might. So I think this is pretty solid. We'll see if other people. Well, I don't know who else is going to play Phoenix Rek'Sai in Vendetta, but I think Kennen is a pretty solid unit. Potentially better than the rest of these units I've shown here. As for mid-range units that are 4 or more energy, I know I'm blocking the title, but it's fine. Keeper of Law is interesting, but probably not great. At its best, it's a 3 energy 5 might unit, but you need 2 units at a battlefield. That said, it's not that hard to do even in Phoenix variants of Rek'Sai. But if you have 2 units at a battlefield, you probably aren't holding. Like, you don't really want to hold, so it's like it would feel a little weird to put 2 units on a battlefield. Maybe if you put 2 recruits, it'll be fine, but I'm a little worried about it. And best of respected and feared, this unit seems extremely good. Only issue is that it's a double yellow energy or power cost when you empower it. It's a 5 for 5, which is fine on its own. Empower for 1 energy and 2 yellow power. While empowered, I have Assault 2, and when I attack, kill an enemy unit with a less might than me. So essentially 6 energy, 2 yellow power for 5 might Assault 2, kill a unit when I attack. Right? This is really good because it'll help you get over a lot of strong, bigger units. Stuff like Rasa, because Miracle is going to be very popular going forward with Kennen and Zed. Ferris Forerunner, you just instantly kill Ferris Forerunner. Riptide Rex, if you're playing against a LeBlanc. Aurelia, if they can't buff it, stuff like that. So, pretty good. Very, very good. We also have Reluctant Leader. Well, I did not change Masa, but I'll talk about Masa real quick. 4 for 4, you can pay an yellow energy power as an additional cost, and if you do stun an enemy unit at a battlefield, it's like a slow speed Vi in a weird way that doesn't require you to commit the unit. Not bad, but not I don't know if it's better or if we have room to really play it. Reluctant Leader. This could be really good, but I think it's even better in a Swarm deck where you play a lot of tokens, like a yellow Swarm variant with Vanguard Captain, um, Faithful Manufacturer, the Emissary that we showed earlier, even like Vanguard Armory. Like if you wanted to play a weird version of Vanguard Armory, uh, so that part is good, but it could very easily die before it because it's only a 3 might and stuff like Hextech Ray, Falling Star, so on and so forth. So I'm not convinced that it's good. It's specifically in a Phoenix deck. In a Swarm deck, I think this could be very good. Um, as long as you can get the units out, the tokens out after it's ready. Or you can do Twilight Reveler. Twilight Reveler is ready. Play Reluctant Leader, attack with Twilight Reveler, ready the leader, spit out a bunch of tokens somehow, either with Death Knell on the Emissary or up from the. Oh, not from that's purple. Uh, Vanguard Captain, Legion, Rearguard, whatever. So, moving on, Morgana Vindictive, 5 energy, 1 red power, 5 might, ambush. When you play me, deal damage equal to a unit equal to the amount of damage already marked on it. So, what you could do, for example, is use Falling Star on Elder Dragon, let's say. Falling Star Elder Dragon, deal 6 damage, then play Morgana, deal another 6 damage, you kill Elder Dragon. It's not burn, it's spell damage, because burn is mill, which is really confusing as someone that used to play Magic. I think it's not great in this deck in particular. It'd probably be better suited in a Kaisa deck, but it seems okay stat-wise, right? If you think about Vi, you think about Ferris Foreigner, you think about Darius, the stat lines on those is basically the same as Morgana, right? So it at least checks that off, but I don't know if the effect is worth it. Looking at gears, the only 2 gears that are really relevant are Shady Spectacles and Pendulum Blade. Shady Spectacles looks really fun, but more like a Swarm deck, a card for a Swarm deck. What you can do is if you have ways to, or if you just have a bunch of recruits or small units out, you can like play a big unit, play the Spectacles. This might have to be over 2 turns, considering the cost of everything, but let's say you had like a Ferris Forerunner. You play Spectacles, equip it to a recruit, crash the recruit in. Oops. Crash the recruit in. You're swinging for 6. If it dies, you get 2 mechs. Repeat with another recruit. Repeat with another recruit, and then you could do it with a mech. And it's interesting. It's going to be way too expensive to do that, but it's really funny. Pendulum Blade. It's kind of like Brutalizer if you squint hard enough. We can't really make use of the +2 trigger more than once a turn, so it's like not amazing. But 3 for 3 is, I don't know. 3 for 3 is still okay. It's just could be better. Moving on to spells, we're going to start with Ruthless Strike. Action speed for 3 energy. As an additional cost, you may discard 1. Deal 3 to a unit at a battlefield. If you discarded the card, deal 5 instead. I could see this being played. You can discard a useless card in your hand, like a random 2-drop if it's later in the game, or a Phoenix, or I don't know, maybe like if you're running the one of Salvage or one of Brittle Steel, as you see next to it. You could discard that if the card's not relevant in the matchup, or if it has flow, you can just play it for flow later, and then you deal 5. It's nice to not have to pay a power, and of course, if you kill something, you'll be able to bring a Phoenix back, but I don't know if it's better than Void Seeker. It's not better than Falling Star, so hard to find room for this. Brittle Steel, 2 energy and a power, kill a gear. Fantastic card. It's probably going to replace Salvage in Rek'sai because it's just more efficient. The trade-off is really drawing 1 versus being able to play the card twice. And I think playing the card twice is a little more important, especially if they're playing green and they defy your Brittle Steel. You can just try to cast it again later. So, yeah. Also, Rek'Sai just has a decent amount of card advantage built into the legend and signature spells, so the draw is less important. I guess you could make the same comparison with Ruthless Strike and Void Seeker. The discard one, I'm not super convinced yet, but we'll see. We also have the 2 decrees. Now, I want to also note that these decree cards are basically sideboard cards. I don't think you would ever main deck either of these. That said, sideboard limits are being increased to 10 with the start of Vendetta, so maybe it is sideboardable, but I do feel like the red and yellow decrees are a little too narrow in scope for them to be put into a sideboard. Maybe if meta is just super purple heavy, like Aurelia, Diana, Kennen, if Zed becomes popular, Draven seems to be getting a lot of hype. I said Diana. Yeah, I don't know. But if purple becomes super meta, I could see this going in your sideboard. But until then, I'm not convinced. Same thing with the red decree. Like, is there going to be a lot of green in the meta? Maybe, maybe not. Maybe if your local meta has a lot of green with like Aurelia, Vex, Master E, Ivern. I only say Ivern because I know there's one person at my Nexus Knights that loves playing Ivern. Shoutouts to Kayla. What other green decks are there? Shen. But yeah, yeah, it just depends on what you're going to be playing against. So just keep the decrees in mind. Dragon Form is another one. It's interesting because giving a unit base might of 5 is a lot more than most of your deck, or most of the units in your deck. If you think about the 2 drops with like Inferna, right? Inferna will go from base might of 1 to 5, and then would be attacking for 7 if you, assuming it's your turn, of course. Your recruits, any of your 2 drops, even your Phoenix can go to base might of 5. Assault 2 makes it attack for 7. It's a little slow though. You can't play it on your opponent's turn, which kind of sucks, but I think it's a decent card. Flow for the same cost is also really nice. Perfect Execution, again, is a flow card that seems really good, but I'm not sure what I would take out for it. Maybe the Void Seeker. But I'd also consider Ruthless Strike instead of Void Seeker if I want that damage spell. But I mean, readying a unit, giving it Assault 3. Too bad our units don't have ganking, but you know, you could also use it to just pull a unit back if you really had to. So I think it's a good card. Again, hard to find a spot to put it in over something else in my deck. Consuming Curse, pretty underwhelming, 2 for 2. There's 2 energy for 2 damage. Could be cool if you like mill one and then play one so you deal 3 damage. But if you think about how hard it is to mill a Phoenix in the first place, trying to do it for Consuming Curse is just like going to be just as hard. So I don't, and that's assuming you dedicate a full 3 slots to it, which I don't think you should. So Faker, what was that? Battlefields, Protective Sands is something I considered. Could be good if you're doing a turn 2 going first, you conquer, you tap 1 to draw. Or if you're going second on your turn 2, you can just float 1 energy, 1 power. If you know you're gonna play like a Phoenix or something that costs power, just float that energy and power, move in, and then you basically automatically pay for the battlefield's draw effect. So it could be good, but I feel like outside of like turn 2 and 3, it's probably not going to be that useful. There are situations where you do go down to really low runes in the mid to late game if you're like really trying to like push for the win. But at that point, is the draw one really what you need? Maybe not. Misty Vortex. During showdowns, cards here with reaction cost another power. For us, that only really affects Hidden Blade. But at the same time, I don't know how relevant it will be. I mean, it's good against any counterspell. It costs 1 extra power. But I think people would be willing to play Defy even if it was 1 energy, 2 power. We'll see. Could be good, but I'm not sure. Threshold of the Gray. When a combat starts here, the attacker and defender each add 1 energy. You can sack your units for energy and then just like play a unit and pass so that they don't have a reaction window. But I guess each combat would be a reaction window, so like it seems cool to sack your units for energy, but your opponent also is getting energy, so you have to be careful about opening up the reaction window or action window each time you send a unit in, and assuming that unit dies. Well, I guess if it's combat, that implies there's a unit to even attack against, so not convinced. Risen Altar and power costs cost 1 energy or 1 power or less. I think this is really good if you have a good Empower package, namely the Noxian Emissary, if you decide to run Reticali and Red, Yellow, and Bessa, respected and feared. But at the same time, other decks may use the Empower cost reduction more than you. We'll have to see how the meta ends up shaping, but, you know, if there are other decks out there that are really popular that use Empower more than you do, this is not worth it. Shadow Temple, when you hold here, burn 3. This is good for like the Miracle decks like Zed and Kennen. For us, playing Phoenix Rek'sai, it's debatable. The thing is like, how often are you really going to hold as Rek'sai? Not often. So I don't think this really deserves a slot. Let me move out of the way as we show off. This is what I ended up with as a final deck list. This is more so based on the cards I have, but I'll explain in a second here. 3 Noxian Emissaries over the Carrion Dredgers, 2 Cannons over the extra copy of Rek'Sai and the 1 copy of Sharkling, and then Darius and Vi. I don't remember what I had previously. I might have put in Forerunners at one point, but we're going to stick with Darius and Vi. We have a Longsword in there for fun. 2 Cleaves, 1 Brittle Steel, replacing the 1 Salvage. And then everything else is basically the same. Sideboard gets increased to 10. I have an extra Cannon in there. It would be useful going second. You can take out a 2-drop like Inferna or Honest Broker, because you'll be able to play a turn 1 anyway. And then the rest of the sideboard, 2 Brittle Steel, Gear Hate, 2 Void Seeker, burn spells. I do want to reconsider playing the Ruthless Strike over Void Seekers, the one that you can discard to deal 5 instead of 3. I'm not convinced, but I think maybe it could be okay. 2 Vengeances, 1 Drag Under, and 2 Thermo Beams. I'm only playing 1 Drag Under because I only have 1 Drag Under, but you could run 2 instead of the extra Cannon. Vengeance and Drag Under are just your hard removal spells if you're playing against something that runs tall units like Master Yi, Aurelia, Aurora, Draven, those kind of decks. And Thermo Beam, I mean, against Azir, Lucian, anything that spams out gear. Maybe Jace too, actually, if it's not Aurora. But yeah, so Noxian Emissary over Carrion Dredger. The Carrion Dredger, like, it's a good card because when it dies, you get that bird with Deflect. But the problem is that it's only 1 might. And 1 might will never really be able to fight something, let alone trade. So I'm going to replace it with the Noxian Emissaries. And you'll get a similar effect as a Death Knell if you empower it. But empowering it is not even the worst because it's like a split up Vanguard Captain, right? Vanguard Captain is like Legion, 3 energy, 1 yellow power when you play me, play 2 recruits. This is kind of just like a delayed cost and delayed effect. Get 2 recruits, which I think is still fine. We're running 2 cannons over the Rek'Sai and the Sharkling. I like the extra layer of hidden cards. Now it's not like, oh, what could it be? Oh, I don't know. What red yellow hidden cards are people gonna be playing? So yeah. And it's synergy with Vi. I'm not sold because like maybe like the Akali can be played or the Twilight Reveler can be played instead of Kennen, but I'm just gonna stick with this for now. I also didn't pull any Twilight Revelers, so Brittle Seal over Salvage. Like I said before, I think the flow ability is more important than the one card draw. Um, because, like I said, if it gets countered, you at least have a second chance to play it for admittedly a more expensive price, but you know, they could either, if they actually, if they defy the flow, I believe the card still goes to your trash because it never got played. So you could float again. Not that you'll have 10 energy ever, but you could. Um, yeah. So yeah, keep that in mind. I'm pretty sure countering a card with flow still puts it in your trash, but I'll have to confirm that at some point. For battlefields, I'm playing Targon's Peak over Candlelit. One of the subtler things I wanted to do with this deck is just have more options on my opponent's turn. If you look at the deck, which I'll go back and show you, what can you play on your opponent's turn in this deck? It's a little more, right? You've got Infernos. The Kennons are the additions that give you more agency on your opponent's turn. Vi's been there. Longsword is another one. Void Seeker is another one. So there's a little more situations to actually play on your opponent's turn. So I do want to play Targons going first, just so that I can ready 2 runes, use all of my energy to like play units, and then hold up 2 energy for, let's say, a longsword or ambush Inferna or something like that, or like revealing Kennen from hidden and then having the 2 runes to pay 2 energy to get the stun. I would also play Haisho over Minefield if I pulled one, but I did not pull one. Ignore Deflect while paying for spells and abilities, choosing something here. Right, so Aurelia, Vex, Jhin, that bird that has Deflect 2 if you pay the Empower cost. And I think there's this one YouTuber, Grappler, who made like a glowstone full Deflect Ivern deck, which looked really funny. And this would counter all that Deflect nonsense, so, you know. That's about it. I'll put the deck list back up here. You should tune your sideboard to what you play in your local meta if you know like roughly what kind of decks people play. But I'm gonna stick with this. If I had to make more changes, I would consider playing Twilight Reveler and Mbessa, Feared and Respected over the Kennen and the Vi, I think. I would also consider trying Ruthless Strike over Void Seeker. Maybe even going down to 2 Falling Stars and playing 2 Ruthless Strikes. Maybe. Yeah. Let me know what you guys think. The only reason I'm a little skeptical about the Mbessa is because the yellow power costs are going to be really high. And I kind of want to lean a little bit more towards red power because we're playing seals. So let me know what you guys think. Hope you guys are enjoying Vendetta pre-rift. And with Nexus Knights starting up, we'll see how it goes. Admittedly, I'm probably going to be playing a different deck for now, but I'll definitely come back to this and see how it feels.